Hi, I'm Heather King, and I want to talk today about evangelization, kind of. I've been undergoing a huge learning curve as I attempt to learn the sort of rudiments of YouTube. And you get these young guys, think media, and they're like, make start before you're ready. Make 35 videos, get them out there so you can get your first 1,000 subs. I'm like, okay. Um, Actually, it's been interesting because they actually have, everyone says, oh, you can't be selfish. It's not about being famous. It's about being of service. And what do you have to offer of value? And I think, and that's a beautiful thing. But you look at the people and you just think, what? It just seems to me so unnatural, this kind of used car salesman demeanor of with big like placards and buy this and here's your 25 great tips. I'm always yeah, and I've just been torn my whole kind of professional career about not hiding. We don't want to hide our light under a bushel, um, but at the same time, it just seems we live in this culture where that kind of rewards, I don't want to say mediocrity, but rewards what is easy, what doesn't require a lot of thought, what doesn't require, it sometimes doesn't require a lot of work, because I think these young, just to select one group, these young media people obviously put in tons of work, which is great, and they provide a wonderful service. But um, as a Catholic, an ardent, faithful convert, follower of Christ, who suffers as we all do, the ridicule and the derision of the culture at large. Often, that I'll just leave it at that. But how to get your work out there, or who do you appeal to, or who is your audience, or who is going to be open to the message, whatever the message is. I mean, the message for me is about, again, the vocation of the artist, of what it means to be faithful, to hear a call and be faithful to it. But in the Catholic world, there's this implication that you sort of have to be, have a shtick, sort of, you have to be like pro-life or be an expert on the theology of the body, or have a 8-week course on St. Thomas Aquinas, or be a super successful Catholic homeschooling mom with 16 kids. I mean, all of which are wonderful things. But what if you're just a kind of stumbling layperson who loves Mass and is an artist? What about an artist? What about that as a way of, that is in its way as requires every bit as much as even being a mother. I'm always like, do you give money to the homeless guy? Like, do you have struggle with difficult family members? In other words, what do we have to give anyone as followers of Christ except ourselves and our own? All we can say is, I have tried to follow him, and this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like daily, because you never come to some big, hey, let me show you how to cast out Satan with really effective prayer. I mean, we hear so much of this, and I just think, to me, that it's just a disservice. It's a kind of grotesque misconstruction of prayer, of the Gospels of Christ. We don't change. The purpose of prayer isn't to change God. I mean, we're not going to, what? you don't manipulate God by mouthing the right words. It's to prayer changes us. I mean, that's a whole big subject. But yeah, so how to get across our work without having a sort of shtick, and I understand that if you want to appeal, if you want to have value, you can't be, as the media guys say, you can't be all things to all people and need to find a niche. So, okay, that's going to be my niche, the vocation of the artist. But it's, I mean, this is the kind of, I've never just been able to parlay. I can't reduce my thought or my life to kind of a teeny little megabyte. Here's a quote, and I think that's what people like. I mean, with good reason. On social media, everybody only has so much time. We only have so much time to post. We only have so much time to read. But if you reduce it too far, what are we even doing? We're just click, 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 like, so someone will like us back. I mean, there's something just so incredibly, I don't mind. I'm happy to learn and join in and do what works, but it just, so much of it just seems like a kind of a time sink. And at the end of it, so we read a great quote, but did we take it to heart? How did we take that into our day? So in my own life, I've worked for many, many years as a writer. I've had a blog since 2010 that I've been pretty faithful to. I have an arts and culture column for the last 7 years. I write for Magnificat for probably 7, 8, 9 years. And probably 12 books, many, many essays, and I've always, my strategy, it's not really a strategy, but it's just my way, has always been kind of personalism. So I try to answer, I know I fail sometimes, but I really try to answer every email that I receive and reply to every blog comment that I get. And consequently, I just get this wide circle of very, very, a spectrum of people. And for instance, like this wonderful priest friend of mine from, he's actually from Louisiana, but he teaches or heads up a seminary, and he sent me this lovely card. People send me stuff in the mail. Like, this is what happens when you're my age. Like, people send you beautiful cards and notes. Maybe it's not an age thing. It's just a courtesy, a beautiful old school practice. Anyway, he had been to this priest had been with his seminarians to the tomb of Father Stanley Rother, servant of God, who, as you may know, was a priest from Oklahoma. He went to, I believe, Guatemala, was a missionary to Guatemala, and kind of insisted upon going. And it was during the 70s and 80s, and he eventually had a kind of bounty on his head. And he came back briefly to Oklahoma, and his heart, he just couldn't. He's known as a shepherd who would not leave his flock. His heart was just agitated, and he begged permission from his bishop to go back again, even though he was on this hit list, and he did. And he was assassinated. And the villagers at the parish that he served asked if they could have his heart, and literally his heart. So they gave it to them, and they buried it beneath the altar of their church. And the rest of him was buried back home in Oklahoma, and in the red robe of the martyrs. So he's a wonderful, wonderful figure. Didn't have a huge charism, wasn't incredibly intelligent. I mean, he was intelligent, but didn't have any kind of a bunch of theological degrees. So anyway, My priest friend writes, "It has been a difficult year here, and all the more necessary to have the example of intercession of the saints. One little detail, one of my students asked Father, servant of God, Father Stanley Rother's biographer during a Q&A about Father Stan's prayer life, whether he had any special devotions, etc. Quote, well, he always carried his breviary and rosary, and he was supernaturally kind. And then my priest friend says, what will the church say of us? So that's one beautiful card that I get. Today I receive another card in the mail. This is from an older friend of mine again, I've never met her in the flesh, but she lives in Northern California, and this is someone who came to me because of a book that I wrote about when I had breast cancer, and I ended up through tons of prayer and soul searching, and I actually went against medical advice and chose not to have chemo and radiation. I'm not, I repeat, not dispensing medical advice, but I wrote a book about it, and she had struggled with another form of cancer and wrote to me, and we struck up a bit of a correspondence. So anyway, she writes, and she says some other things. She wanted to wish you the best and wish me the best in my new home here in Tucson. And then she says, do you know Antonio Machado's poem? 14 poems chosen from Moral Proverbs and Songs, number 6. I will email it if you like. I mean, not some hack TikTok poet who has 8 zillion quote poet who, I mean, Antonio Machado, come on. And then the other day, and this is weighing heavily on me, but not weighing, but this is an email I received on Sunday, Corpus Christi, last Sunday. Another wonderful friend who I met on a trip up there, a woman, and she says, it's a beautiful morning here. She lives in a lay Catholic community. By 8 a.m., I'm going to the garden, turn off the irrigation, and hunt for asparagus beetles. If we don't have them, if we don't catch them, the larvae denude the stakes, so that's my job to get them. Yesterday I planted a row of morning glories and sunflowers by the wood fence that semi-hides the compost piles. Once the sunflowers get big, the morning glories use them for support and climbing. It is quite beautiful. I wish you could come to see us. And then she goes on to talk about another saint that I have written about, and her name, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and I've searched and searched. No one seems to know, and I can't find it online, but she too is in the process of being canonized, and it's servant of God Adele, Dirsyté, Dirsyte, accent, I guess it's Grave. And Adele was a Lithuanian young woman teacher, unassuming but incredibly brave, and was arrested by the communists, basically for being a Catholic, for believing in God, and was sent to a series of horrible, horrible labor camps. She ended up at one called Magadan, and in Russia. And there she was caught taking the Eucharist. So one of the priests from a neighboring camp had smuggled in, I think, the Eucharist, and she was able to take it. And she was marked out for, quote, slow extermination. It's just, you can barely read what she underwent. She died in the camps. But anyway, my friend was in Magadan. For 6 years, she went there to help to establish a lay community of her particular organization there, and she speaks of Father Michael Shields, who was also over there, and he wrote a book called Martyrs of Magadan. I think it's called it's something amid suffering. saints amid suffering, maybe. And so she's kind of nudging me to. She feels strongly that Adele is a profound witness for our times, and could I either write more about her, or I think maybe try to get, as if I have any pull, get the book out. But I really this is the stuff of my daily life and what I take to heart, and what I don't want to say agonize about, but what I ponder. Very much ponder, should I just live a life that is like wholly hidden, more or less? I mean, obviously I would keep writing, but in other words, is it a waste of time to even try to be on social media, or to sort of promote I'm not trying to promote myself ever. It's my work, and it's always Christ, my life in Christ. Or is it better, right, or am I just being sort of lazy? I don't mind putting myself out there, but it's just a matter of, is this the way that's been given to me, to spread the gospels to the ends of the earth, as we're all bound to? So, and I always call it the tragic comedy of the cross. I mean, in one way, of course, who cares? But that's the paradox of the cross. In one way, of course, it doesn't matter at all. In another way, it matters absolutely, because my life is accountable. And so I have to be constantly discerning. And then it changes from time to time. We have different seasons of our life, of our vocation. So anyway, that is, those are some of my thoughts on evangelization. But I think by way of saying, reading some of those notes, that is the fullness of my life. That is, 12 tips for Lent is great, and knowing about the theology is beautiful, but to me, how has it all transformed our life? How do I live and think and move and have my being in a way that is different than someone who doesn't believe in God? What is my life like that is different? How is my day ordered? And I think we should, I wish we talked about that more, because to me that's the only sort of interesting stuff. Or definitely not the only interesting, but certainly the most interesting, because otherwise we're just impressing each other with our knowledge and our sort of polished delivery. And, I don't have a polished delivery. I'm missing like 2 teeth, which you may have noticed. Don't worry, I know. I'm in the process. I'm undergoing yet more gentle work. But don't worry, they're going to be replaced. Hey, but start before you're ready. So I'm doing it. Anyway, thank God for the saints, because their blood has watered the church, kept it going for 2,000 years, and definitely kept me going. So, okay, I hope to see you next time. How do you like my new painting? I tried to position myself. Okay, that will be the subject of another YouTube. You can see part of it there over my shoulder. It's very beautiful. Okay. God bless you and keep you.